The funniest part about this is that I spent like more time than I thought I would need to trying to dig both of these DVDs out of our like family DVD collection from back in the day, thinking that I would need them to make these videos, and then realized afterwards that they are both on Netflix right now, so I didn't need either of these. It's good for the vibe. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I cover nostalgic, obscure, or otherwise strange content. Today's video will be a companion video to the video that I posted a couple days ago about the 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie. This is going to be about the 2005 Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake. Disclaimer right off the bat, I am very, I guess you could say biased in this movie's favor. My first memory of this movie was getting it on DVD for Christmas, the Christmas after it was released, and then directly after that, like the day after, coming down with like a horrible flu. And my dad, kind of just hoping to find something to distract me from how miserable I was, pulls this movie out of the packaging, this very DVD, puts it on, and I just remember like giggling uncontrollably from beginning to end. And ever since then, I've always had a soft spot for this movie. Sorry, I'm fidgeting and I'm kind of doing like accidental ASMR. Sorry, I'm no GB, but anyway. In a weird twist of fate, I've been planning to do both of these videos back to back for a long time, and it just so happens that right as I get around to filming this video right here, I am fighting off a light case of tonsillitis, so really brings me back to the first days of watching this movie. If I sound a little weird today, that's why. Anybody who watched the last video knows that that video was jokingly called Grandpa Joe is a Terrible Human Being, which in the 1971 version, he really is in a lot of ways. In between working on that video and this video, one of you guys recommended a video that just recently came out from Just Right. He just made a video recently called Willy Wonka and the Myth of the Lazy Poor, which basically just talks about how hated Grandpa Joe is by so many people in the 1971 version, and how some people tie it back to like blaming Grandpa Joe for the family being poor. To be clear, the family in both versions are poor because of capitalism and unfair wages. Grandpa Joe is just very unlikable, but only in the 1971 version. And it's because in that version, he just comes across as like really mean to like everybody in his family. Like he makes his daughter bring him food because he says that the floor is too cold for him to get out of bed, and then 2 seconds later is walking into town and back to buy candy, which is like, what's up with that? And he also just like tends to make everything about himself in a really strange way. And I only bring that up in this video because he's so polar opposite in this movie. And I think it speaks a lot to the fact that in a lot of ways this movie understands the tone and overarching message in a way that the 1971 one doesn't. But I'll get into that in a second. In fact, let's get into it right now because I've been talking for like 10 minutes and I haven't played any clips from the movie yet. We start out with a very lengthy intro sequence that shows the inner workings of the factory and the unseen Willy Wonka carefully laying the golden tickets into the Wonka bars. This is different from the original in the way that the original starts out by focusing on all the kids running into a random candy store. And I like that in this one they're kind of shifting the initial focus to the factory, because that's what the whole story kind of revolves around in one way or another.
This is a story of an ordinary little boy named Charlie Bucket.
We also have narration in this version of the movie, which I really like because it reminds me of reading the book as a kid, and it just structurally helps to keep everything on track, I think.
He was not faster or stronger or more clever than other children.
I'm pretty sure that narration is right out of the book, and it's just like, this is Charlie. He's boring. And it's just like, come on, guys. This is mean. I know what they mean. He's an average kid, and that's enough. He runs home to his very close-knit and very disadvantaged family.
Evening, Buckets.
Evening.
And his dad exists in this version. He works at the toothpaste factory. His job is to put the little caps on the toothpaste bottles.
The hours were long, and the pay was terrible.
And when he gets defective ones, he brings them home for Charlie to help him, like, build this big, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, he's building a big, like, replica of the Wonka factory out of the toothpaste caps, which is just really cute.
I used to work for him, you know.
You did?
We also learned very early on that Grandpa Joe actually worked for Willy Wonka, which is, it's true to the book, and it's a nice change from the original. It sounds like I'm really just hating on the original. I'm not, there's a lot of differences. But I like the change, not because the sole factor of Grandpa Joe having a job makes him a better character, but it does set up, like, why he knows so much about the factory, and why he's so invested in the tickets.
But the whole world wanted his candy.
He starts telling Charlie about his time at the initial shop that then became the big factory, and we only see glimpses of Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka until we finally meet him later on.
Mr. Wonka?
Yeah.
And I kind of like the creative camera work of trying to keep him at least partially obscure. He also tells the story that's prevalent in the book that really has no bearing on the story about, like, Wonka getting commissioned to build a palace for a prince in India made entirely out of chocolate. And then, like, the palace is gorgeous, but then it melts because the sun is beating down directly on it, and that's the end of the story. He also tells Charlie about people back in the day stealing recipes from Willy Wonka. I love how these guys are doing, like, a really, like, obvious back alley deal for, like, Wonka recipes.
Then Slugwood began making candy balloons that you could blow up to incredible sizes.
And so this is why this whole Grandpa Joe working for the factory in the past, I think, is so important to the overall message of the story. Willy Wonka is a bad person, right? We all can agree on that. He's like a really shady billionaire businessman.
One day, without warning, Mr. Wonka told every single one of his workers to go home.
This man has a few recipes stolen from him, so he lays off thousands of innocent workers for no reason other than he can't prove that they're not stealing recipes from him. Isn't that messed up? And this helps to better illustrate the family's circumstances in a way that the original 1971 movie really doesn't, because it makes it so clear that the family suffers the way that they do because of capitalist bastards. Like, Grandpa Joe has been unnecessarily fired after he was a more than loyal employee. He's probably very depressed. Like, all of a sudden, Grandpa Joe as a character makes so much more sense. And I think that was what they were going for in the original one, but they just missed the mark entirely by making a bunch of arbitrary changes.
Such as I feel like I've eaten nothing but cabbage soup forever.
Oh, and they also shift some of Grandpa Joe's complaining from the original one onto Grandpa George so that he actually gets a line. I don't think he got a line at all in the original movie, did he?
The factory was back in business.
Did you get your job back?
Charlie, what do you think? Come on, Charlie.
Nothing's impossible, Charlie.
Such a wholesome quote from this movie that I quote all the time. Keep track. I did this in the last one too. Play a game where I can point out however many quotes that I quote from this movie all the time that people usually don't know what I'm quoting, by the way.
Good night.
Oh my god, that poor kid's gonna fall through the roof. So now that we have the general story established, that night we see that Wonka, like the self-aggrandizing dude he is, sends out bike messengers in the dead of night to put up these signs that basically tell people about the Wonka contest.
I, Willy Wonka, have decided to allow 5 children to visit my factory this year.
So now we see people going crazy over Wonka bars, like in the first movie. God bless the retail workers in this universe at this time, by the way. Raise a glass. True heroes of this movie.
You have as much chance as anybody does.
Balderdash.
Charlie's family really is a mix of optimism and pessimism.
The kid who finds the first ticket will be fat.
Okay, that's a little uncalled for, Grandpa George. Don't be the Grandpa Joe of this movie. We see Augustus Gloop find the ticket first.
So I look and I find the golden ticket.
I wonder how many prop tickets they had to make, like in props, with like the little bite out of the corner. We now jump directly from that scene to seeing Veruca find the golden ticket second. Well, she finds the ticket herself, all by herself.
I'm in the nut business, you see, so I say to my workers,
Morning, ladies.
I also love this shot because it's basically this movie's version of the guy who looks like he has the antlers coming out of his head from the other movie.
Where's my golden ticket? I want my golden ticket!
Right, so just like last time, Veruca's dad is a big businessman who's forcing his workers at minimum wage to unwrap chocolate bars for his daughter. And I think the worker from this version that finds the golden ticket watched my last video. She does what I said they should have done in the first movie, which is try to pocket the ticket for herself. She's not quick enough, but at least she gave it her best try.
Daddy, I want another pony.
How many ponies do you have?
Maybe you want to open your birthday present tonight.
So they bring Charlie his present early. It's a Wonka bar. He doesn't find the ticket. He shares the candy. It's sweet. Pun intended. Now we go right to Violet finding the third ticket. The pacing of this movie is also definitely better. Like, I think we can all agree. Even if you hate this version of the movie, I think we can agree just from a cinematic standpoint, the pacing is a lot more even. In this version, Violet Beauregard is a uber competitive preteen from Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm a gun sure, mostly. But when I heard about these ticket things, I laid off the gun.
I hate to say it, everything about this is so Atlanta. This is so, like, this is so Buckhead. You've got these, like, uber rich people with the matching mother-daughter tracksuits. Like, if you're out there watching and that's your thing, good for you. It's everything about this is so cliche, though.
The fourth golden ticket has been found by a boy called Mike TV.
And then they cut into that news broadcast to cover another news broadcast of Mike TV finding the ticket. So now we are only like 25 minutes in and we have all of the other 4 ticket finders established.
All you have to do is check the manufacturing dates, offset by weather, and the derivative of the Nikkei index.
One change that they made that deviates from the book and first movie is that Mike TV is not obsessed with watching TV. In this version, he's obsessed with video games, which I find very topical for 2005 and just very funny in general. Mike TV is also, in my opinion, the least likable out of all 5 of the kids in this version. Like, what the fuck, kid? We don't say that anymore.
Die! Die! Die!
I watched this while I was prepping this morning with my brother, who is a Twitch streamer, and he jokingly said, he's probably a Halo kid. Sorry to all the Halo fans out there.
I hate chocolate.
Well, it's a good thing you're going to a chocolate factory, you ungrateful little butt.
I've always been impressed by the accuracy of how well Charlie's dad can, like, drown out all the noise around him. A+ parenting. Unlike the original 1971 version, I'm sorry I keep bringing it up, but this really is, like, the second half of this project going on.
I knew it worked.
But in this version, unlike the last version, they commit fully to the fact that this takes place in England.
Toothpaste factory thought they'd give me a bit of time off.
Like summer vacation.
But it is strange to me, and people can correct me if I'm way off, because I'm not English, obviously, but from my understanding...
Like summer vacation.
Charlie would have never called that summer vacation, right? Like, every English person I've ever talked to finds that term, like, offensively American. But hey, what do I know?
The factory had decided to modernize, eliminating Mr. Bucket's job.
So Charlie's dad has gotten laid off of work. Really leans into this theme that they're going with in this movie of, like, income inequality being the fault of, like, big businesses and billionaires and manufacturers. And then the next day, to kind of further illustrate why Grandpa Joe is so better written here, he's the one that gives Charlie money. Like, he has, like, a grandpa moment where he's like, here's a quarter, go buy a candy bar.
Grandpa.
Ah! So, second chocolate bar, no candy. Or, there's candy, it's a chocolate bar. There's no ticket. There you go. Very tired right now.
Did you see that some kid in Russia found the last golden ticket?
Yes, it was in the paper this morning.
So this is how we find out about the supposed 5th ticket being found.
Good boy. Come on, George, good boy.
It's like really perfect timing. And then because of inflation, Charlie has to find like a whole $10 bill in this version instead of like the last one where he found a dime and he's like, I'm gonna buy 2 chocolate bars with this. So he goes and buys another Wonka bar, which, by the way, the Wonka bars look amazing.
The nerve of some people.
And he finds out 2 seconds after finding out about the found ticket that it was in fact a forgery. and then he finds his ticket.
Listen, I'll buy it from you.
And then adults just bombard him.
I'll give you $50.
$50, cheap ass.
You want to sell me your ticket for $500, young man?
Charlie needs a bodyguard. Poor kid. So he runs home to tell his family, and here is where the culmination of every good choice that they made around Grandpa Joe specifically kind of culminates, right? Because they've already established that Wonka is an asshole who fired Grandpa Joe. To me, it seems that Grandpa Joe is in a terrible depression, among other things, right? So it makes this scene make way more sense and be way more endearing, right? Like, that can't just be me, right? Like, especially since he jumps up because he's just so happy for his grandson before he realizes that there's anything in it for him. Like, again, I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for with the original Grandpa Joe, but they just pull it off so well in this version.
Who is going with Charlie to the factory?
I will. I'll take him. You leave it to me.
Yeah, now it just seems like he's just like volunteering his services as somebody who knows a lot about this shady dude that he used to work for, instead of just being like, I've got a golden ticket. The original Grandpa Joe actor is a much better singer than I am.
A woman offered me $500 for the ticket. We need the money more than we need the chocolate.
And then poor Charlie's like, the weight of capitalism is crushing us. I'm gonna sell my ticket. And then right when I thought I didn't like Grandpa George, he has his shining moment where he's like, no, fuck no. That's a terrible idea. Don't do that.
There's plenty of money out there. They print more every day.
Well, yeah. Didn't you just hear me complaining about inflation like a second ago?
Only a dummy would give this up for something as common as money. We've got a factory to go to.
So they're at the gates the next day.
Eyes on the prize, Violet. Eyes on the prize.
I almost feel bad for Violet in this version. Like, she's still a jerk, but like they really imply like that her mother really puts all of her child's worth on competing, which sucks, by the way. Don't do that to your kids.
Who am I? Well...
Creepy puppet warning. Creepy puppet warning. This entrance is so goddamn weird, and I love it so much. It's like, it's a small world. I love that in the song that inevitably Willy Wonka wrote himself, he calls himself modest. I just picture Willy Wonka sitting alone in the factory somewhere, just like messing around with GarageBand, like filming different sound bites of him singing and then pitching it up and down to voice all the puppets. Jesus Christ, the way they catch on fire is horrific.
Wasn't that just magnificent?
And then he just pops up right there. Chris Angel. Oops, I knocked the movie over. They also, like, really put a focus on the fact that the whole world aggrandizes this man for being such a genius, but in actuality, he's just like a socially awkward recluse with daddy issues. We'll get to the daddy issues eventually. Like, not that there's anything wrong with being any of those things, but the way that the movie just kind of frames it to take the piss out of billionaires, lovely.
But I used to work here in the factory.
Were you one of those despicable spies who every day tried to steal my life's work?
I don't think so.
No, sir.
And wonderful. Welcome back.
So they walk past the literal on-fire dumpster.
I have to keep it warm in here because my workers are used to an extremely hot climate.
Again, very shady of you, sir. Very shady answer to that question. We established that Willy Wonka hates pretty much all of the kids except for Charlie.
Well, you're just lucky to be here, aren't you? And the rest of you must be there.
He hates his own dad so much that he can't even say the word parents.
Parents.
Yeah.
He acts like it's like a bad word.
Is it just me, or does Wonka seem a few quarters short of a buck? I'm sorry, I don't speak American.
Christ.
Would you like some chocolate? Sure. Then you should have bought some.
Good lord, is this asshole day? These girls are having like a mean girl moment. Everybody hates each other. And then we get to the chocolate room, and this is where you're like, oh yeah, this is a Tim Burton movie.
You can eat the grass.
Of course you can.
Everything in this room is eatable. Even I'm eatable. But that is called cannibalism, my dear children, and is in fact frowned upon in most societies. So many quotes. Even in the before when he's like, "Good morning, Starshine, the Earth says hello." I know that's him quoting something else, but I quote it all the time. I'm pretty sure I've quoted it a couple times on this channel, and I'm always happy when people know that that's what I'm talking about. So the kids go around eating candy.
Why not start a new piece? Because then I wouldn't be a champion. I'd be a loser, like you.
Wow, kids from Atlanta are mean. Hot.
It's a little person.
And now we see the Oompa Loompas. The Oompa Loompas in this movie are all played by Deep Roy, who does an amazing job. Like, this man plays all the Oompa Loompas at once. We also get this very, colonialist scene where we see Wonka going to the Oompa Loompas' land.
I went to Loompa Land looking for exotic new flavors for candy.
He shows up uninvited with the intention of stealing their resources, presumably.
But not quite so beastly as the caterpillars.
Disrespects their culture, and then ends up taking them all back to live in his factory and only get paid in cocoa beans. I'm convinced that he doesn't actually know their language at all, and the Oompa Loompas are just being polite and humoring him. Also, they go to so many lengths in this movie to be like, no guys, like, the Oompa Loompas came over on their free will. Like, they made a deal. And it's like, yeah, sure, okay, but like, the whole thing? It's a little too close to slavery, if you ask me. It's still very weird. I'm not comfortable with the Oompa Loompa situation. Augustus falls in the chocolate river, gets sucked up into the pipe.
Well, I believe they're going to treat us to a little song.
And then we get the first Oompa Loompa song, which somebody said it in the comments of the last video, but it needs to be reiterated all the time. The Oompa Loompas' music in this movie, fire.
Augustus Gloop, the great bakery nincompoop.
My cousin and I, we loved this movie, and she's gonna kill me for saying this. On the special features of the DVD, they released this thing where, like, you could learn the dances to all the Oompa Loompa songs because each one has a very specific choreographed dance, and we would spend hours trying to perfect this dance.
Come on, we cry, the time is right to send him shooting up the pipe.
The lyrics are all from the book too. Now I want to learn the dances all over again. So now he gets sucked up to God knows where.
They'll be selling him by the pound all over the world.
No. Ew. No one would buy it.
Always putting profit over human life. The billionaire way.
Why would Augustus's name already be in the Oompa Loompa song?
They also directly call out the fact that Willy Wonka definitely knew what was going to happen and definitely wanted those kids to be maimed in some way.
That boy will be fine.
See what I mean about Grandpa Joe just being adorable this time around?
Gives one the feeling of being in love.
You don't say.
Wonka gets hit on and then they all go in the chocolate river boat. He even lets Charlie and Grandpa Joe drink from the chocolate river because he can tell that they're so, like, skinny, which is so sad.
You're all quite short, aren't you?
Well, yeah, we're children.
Well, that's no excuse. I was never as short as you.
As a short person, you probably never were as short as me, Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka hadn't thought about his childhood for years.
Oh god, he's having a flashback. So in this version of the movie, they add backstory where Willy Wonka's dad is a dentist who hates candy.
Willy Wonka was the son of the city's most famous dentist, Wilbur Wonka.
Dr. Wilbur Wonka? Is Willy Wonka a junior? Has Willy Wonka's full name been Wilbur Wonka Jr. this whole time? Throws all his candy in the fire. Screw this guy. Also, what a power move. Willy Wonka really said, I'm just gonna traumatize my dad back, and just became a chocolatier after all of that.
There's no knowing where they're going.
Again, this should be a ride. Universal Studios, you can put it in place of where that terrible Fast and Furious ride is. Please.
What do you use hair cream for?
To lock in moisture. My hair is very fluffy today. In the next room, they just kind of brush over the everlasting gobstoppers because they don't mean shit in this version.
Brand new crop of hair will start growing out all over the top of your little noggin. And a mustache. And a beard.
We see some more turmoil in the way of Willy Wonka is definitely doing experiments on these poor Oompa Loompas.
How are you today?
Look at this poor cousin-it Oompa Loompa.
It's gum.
And then she gets the 3-course meal gum.
it will be the end of all kitchens and all cooking.
I like that he doesn't even know what his own product is.
I'm just a little concerned about the...
Blueberry pie and ice cream.
that part.
She turns into a blueberry.
I've tried it on like 20 Oompa Loompas, and each one ended up as a blueberry.
How is she supposed to compete?
You could put her in a county fair. We get another song. I love that all the songs have their own unique style. They really put a lot of time into the music. She gets sent to the juicing room to be squeezed.
They're gonna squeeze her. Like a little pimple.
Sounds very uncomfortable.
What's the special prize and who gets it?
The best kind of prize is a surprise.
Oh, this movie is so weird. I love it.
If you hate gum so much, why do you make it?
Money. Isn't that always the answer to everything?
Once again, you really shouldn't mumble because it's kind of starting to bum me out.
I like how, and I just noticed this for the first time working on this two-part project. In the original version, the kid is so loud. Mike TV screams everything. And Gene Wilder sarcastically tells him that he's mumbling. And in this version, they're just like, what if he really is just like a mumbling stereotype of a kid that plays too many video games?
Willy Wonka did remember the first candy he ever ate.
Now we see another flashback where he pulls chocolate out of the fire and he's like instantly addicted. Poor kid. Well, that shot's very similar to the shot from the beginning of the original movie where Charlie's looking through the window. That's kind of neat. I don't know if they did that on purpose or not.
I'm sorry, I was having a flashback.
Such a usable clip.
You see, Mr. Wonka, I myself am in the nut business.
If Willy Wonka is this universe's Elon Musk, does that make Mr. Salt this universe's Jeff Bezos? Oof. Instead of the bad egg scene, we get the scene that's like the one in the book, the squirrel room scene, which I love because look at how adorable the squirrels are.
I want a trained squirrel.
How do you go about training squirrels? Sounds harder than training cats.
All I've got at home is 1 pony and 2 dogs and 4 cats and 6 bunny rabbits and 2 parakeets and 3 canaries and a green parrot and a turtle and a silly old hamster.
Oh, she's gonna get attacked by that squirrel.
I'll have you.
What does she think she's gonna do? Carry the squirrel around for the rest of the day?
Don't touch that squirrel's nuts. It'll make him crazy.
You can't tell me that wasn't improv, and you can't tell me everybody didn't lose their shit on set when he said that. Look at how cute they are. Little homicidal squirrels. They're adorable.
There it is. There it isn't.
I love that he doesn't know which key goes to which. It's this tiny little gate. He could just step over it. Oh, she's a bad nut. She's going down the chute.
Where does the chute go?
To the incinerator. Well, there's always the chance they decided not to light it today.
I don't like those odds. Song 3 is like a Beatles-esque moment for the Oompa Loompas. I also love their yellow jumpsuits.
Guilty ones, now this is sad. Dear old mom, and loving dad.
Where'd they get a portrait of the mom? My brother pointed out that they probably had all these songs like prepared, thinking that they could get each kid to fuck up in one specific part of the factory. Which makes me wonder, did they have a pre-written song for Charlie? In case Charlie messed something up? What would it even be? So, Dad goes down the garbage chute too. They get in the glass elevator.
There can't be this many floors.
How do you know, Mr. Smarty Pants?
It's a real shame they never made it a glass elevator movie, by the way, because that book was insane. Maybe one day I'll do a video about the book. There's a part of me that wants to do live streaming just so that I can do, you know, nightly reading sessions. I know, very, very off topic. Anyway.
I'd rather not talk about this one.
Oh, that's disturbing.
This is the Puppet Hospital and Burn Center. Relatively new.
Candy doesn't have to have a point. That's why it's candy.
I love how proud you can tell that Willy Wonka already is of Charlie.
It's stupid.
Candy is a waste of time.
Also, says the kid who plays video games, you're gonna tell me everything has to have perfect logic and have a utility? Video game kid? Not that I hate on video games, it's just a weird stance to take. He flashes back to the day he ran away, and his dad did the absolute least to stop his small child from leaving home.
Go ahead. But I won't be here when you come back.
Some people think the backstory is unnecessary for Willy Wonka. I disagree, because I've always wondered what makes Willy Wonka so Willy Wonka-esque, you know? Who hurt this man? Who was his dentist's father?
Why can't I send a real bar of chocolate through the television.
There's a difference between waves and particles. Duh!
God, Mike TV is so overly critical, and unfortunately I feel like I've gone off on a similar rant at some point in one of these videos, which hurts my feelings. I don't want to be Mike TV.
Mumbler!
So this is the television room. He's like, I can send a giant Wonka bar through the TV. It comes out all tiny.
Take it.
It's just a picture on a screen.
I get that you can reach into the screen of this TV, but could you do that with every TV? I have a lot of questions about the Wonka commercial business model. Also, I love that when they come in, the Oompa Loompas are just chilling out watching Oprah.
Don't you realize what you've invented? It's a teleporter.
Yeah, so Mike is a little asshole, and he's like, I'm gonna go through the teleporter, and then, you know, he gets all tiny.
I sure hope no part of him gets left behind.
Oh, dear God.
If you had to choose only one half of your son, which one would it be?
Yeah, parents, haven't you ever thought about which half of your child is the better half?
The most important thing that we've ever learned. The most important thing we've learned as far as children are concerned.
I love all the channel surfing TV parodies that the Oompa Loompas have in this one. Everything about this is beautiful.
Ew, somebody grab him.
There is no other way. Let's go put him in the taffy puller.
Taffy puller?
Ooh, the taffy puller does not sound fun.
Mr. Wonka, Charlie's the only one left now.
Yep, Battle Royale, Charlie is the only child left. And in this version, Grandpa Joe did not tell him to steal stuff, so he's got that going for him.
What happened to the others?
What do you think, William Wilbur?
And we mustn't dilly or dally. We have the great glass elevator to speed things along.
He ran into the glass like in those, what are they, the commercials for window cleaner.
But it's made of glass. It'll smash into a million pieces.
Crazy bastard. You see all the kids leaving the factory. They're worse for wear, but they're alive, so that's good.
Look, Mother, I'm much more flexible now.
Yes, but you're blue.
And poor Violet. Her mom rejects her just because she's a little blue now. Like, she'll win every acrobatic competition, Mom. That's all you care about. I hate seeing Veruca and her dad covered in the trash. It makes me nauseous. Mike TV looks like Flat Stanley.
Where do you live?
So Charlie gets taken home. You couldn't have landed next door? They already live in a shack. You're gonna go through their roof?
I'm gonna give this little boy my entire factory.
So this is where he tells Charlie, hey, I'm getting old. You know, I wanted somebody to take over for me.
Because you see, a few months ago, I was having my semi-annual haircut.
The funny thing is that hairstyle is pretty popular now. Like the shorter bangs with the... Willy Wonka's a trendsetter.
I invited 5 children to the factory, and the one who was the least rotten would be the winner.
He's just like going through their medicine cabinet. So here's where things take a little minor deviation. Willy Wonka says, hey, come work at the factory and take over for me. And Charlie's like, okay, I'll bring the whole family. And he's like, no.
I mean, it's alright if my family come too.
Oh, my dear boy, of course they can't.
And so Charlie tells him off.
I wouldn't give up my family for anything. Not for all the chocolate in the world.
Hell yeah, good for Charlie.
Okay. Bye.
So up he goes in his flying elevator.
Things are going to get much better.
Aw, Grandma Georgina's the best. So things start to get better for the Charlie family, the Bucket family. And one thing that I like about it is their lives start to get a little bit better without Willy Wonka. Like, the lesson isn't just, hey, a big billionaire will come along and change your life.
Grandpa Joe spent the whole day out of bed.
Grandpa Joe helps out around the house now, bless him. Charlie helps his parents fix the hole in the roof that Wonka left, thank you very much. His dad actually gets a better job that pays him more fairly. Thank God. And they're actually doing better, and Wonka's doing terrible. Serves him right. I also like the revelation that some of the Oompa Loompas are licensed therapists.
I make the candy I feel like, but now I feel terrible, so the candy's terrible.
So with his profits tanking, he goes to see Charlie, who's shining shoes.
I thought he was great at first, but then he didn't turn out so nice. He also has a funny haircut.
I do not.
And Charlie just keeps roasting him.
What do you have against my family?
It's not just your family, it's the whole idea of...
Charlie basically is like, man, you really hate family. You gotta do something about that, dude. So he volunteers to go with him to see his dad for the first time in years. I love that he's just like using the elevator for regular transportation now. Can you imagine if Elon Musk did this? Be like, yep, there goes Elon, his flying glass elevator. He's finally cracked fully.
You have an appointment?
No, but he's overdue.
His dad doesn't recognize him. I guess just because he's been a recluse for so long. But look, he's a proud papa. He has clippings of like everything he's ever done.
Willie?
Hi, Dad.
Then he puts it together and they have an awkward hug.
And you haven't flossed.
Not once.
Yeah, screw flossing! Just kidding, you should floss. Now that he's worked on some of his own issues, he's like, okay, Charlie, you can bring your family. And so Charlie actually accepts his offer finally.
You staying for dinner, Willie?
Yes, please.
And Willy Wonka is kind of adopted into the family, which is cute.
You smell like old people and soap.
Wilbur, no!
I like it.
And it makes the happy ending of the first one even more satisfying because we get to see how it affects all of them. And look, they even decided to keep their house. They have like the sugar shakers up here to like give them perpetual fake snow. They're just chilling out in the big candy forest that is the chocolate room. That's dope as hell. It's like candy cottagecore.
Life had never been sweeter.
Hey, I see what you did there. And that's the end. This video was probably going to come off very biased, and I know this movie is not perfect, but I very much enjoy it. And it gets shit on constantly, and someone has to say it. This movie is good, guys. I've really enjoyed working on this project, covering both back to back. I now know quite a lot about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It'll be weird to talk about something that isn't it, but yeah, that's all I really have to say. That's both of the movies back to back. What do you guys think? As always, I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. Everything you do to support this channel means the world to me, guys. Especially we've hit that 2,000 subscriber mark, and it's just, ugh, you guys are the best. Thank you for constantly participating in this community and keeping it such a wonderful, safe, happy space for all of us. I appreciate all of you so much. If you're new here and you're a fan of nonsense, maybe consider sticking around. I post nonsense all the time. And remember, my name is Avery. I'm a YouTuber if you say so, because thanks to you guys, this is technically a YouTube channel. I really want to do that Oompa Loompa dance now. I wonder if I've still got it. Sorry for the shift in quality. My battery died, and I relocated just outside of my filming studio because I really want to see if I can pull up the dance. I know that it's on YouTube. Oh, I remember this. I'm not the dancer that Deep Roy is. Remember this. Next time you're at the club, this is what we do. This is a new TikTok dance. That was exhausting.